All right, weekend warriors. We got a special guest in the house, Chris Malone. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thanks for having me back, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
it.
I teased a special guest last week, and I was like, "We got a big special guest." I got him already on the calendar. Balloon's like, "Bro, why'd you say that? Everybody's gonna be disappointed. It's me."
I don't know how special I am. I mean, I was a guest last week, and yeah, definitely a special individual. So
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to introduce you in a way of how the league has seen you so far in your performance. And last year, you were the new member of the league. You started off 0-3, and then you were the high scorer of the week the next week. All of a sudden, I guess you exploded. And then you lost the next two. So you started out 1-5 in a 10-team league where 4 teams make the playoffs. It's really tough to dig yourself out. You look like you were destined for last place. You finished the season as a total record of 6-9, which means you've been on a 5-4 streak at that point. And maybe that got some momentum going. And now you're coming into this season the opposite. You're red hot. You're 3-1. You got one high score of the week and two second places, and that's good enough for you to lead the league in points by 50. So,
like it.
what has maybe changed from last year, if anything, strategy wise, and how do you feel about your squad?
Yeah, I mean, I last year I was frustrated from the beginning. At the quarterback position, I think I had Dak Prescott, and you're not getting anywhere with that guy. So I think at the draft, I wanted to make sure I had one of those top gunslingers. So I went with Mahomes there. Then just gambling on some of these rookies. I mean, my team is like got a lot of depth right now. A lot of the rookies are hitting with Chris Olave, Drake London. So knowing last year, my first year with this 3 quarterback system, half point PPR, not really used to that. So naturally, you always want to go heavy receivers, but you always need those running backs. I think Eckler fell to me in the draft this year. Wasn't a great start, but last week helped me win. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the way I drafted right now is making my team really good. It's well balanced. There's depth. Just gotta hope they stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, I will say for sure, with potentially starting 4 wide receivers in this league, to have London and Olave on your bench is freaking awesome. And you have running back depth beyond Eckler and Sanders. You have Damian Harris on your bench and Gainwell and Rashad White, who had a nice week last week. So I agree that I
Yeah,
think your team is built for the long haul. And Debo, he had a great week last year, but prior to that, he hadn't done a whole lot. So I feel like there's better things to come
I
for.
love Debo. Yeah, with Jimmy G back. I mean, that guy last week just breaks off a long touchdown. So he's a freak
100%.
athlete, and I
Yeah.
had him last year, so kind of fell in love with the guy.
I was admittedly out on Debo and Ayuk because I thought it was going to be Lance, and then it switched, and now it's basically same as last year. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, we've been talking your team up, but are you looking to improve anywhere? Is there any way? Is there any leagues watching this? Do you want to throw some trade bait out there, or maybe some offers here?
Yeah, I mean, this thing can't keep rolling as is. Right now I'm on this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I think I have the most fab budget still available, which is great. It's going to help me in the future.
Really
But
good.
tight end position has been hurting everyone. Other than I'd say 3 or 4 teams
Mm-hmm.
that have the Kelseys, the Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky. I've Ertz, but I also have Hollywood Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. I think they can have terrible weeks, but right now they're grooving. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to find some help at tight end at some point. Seeing Zach Ertz stay healthy the entire season, that might not happen. So tight
And
end right
Hopkins is
now,
going to be back, right?
yeah, right,
Hopkins might
right.
eat into that a little
So
bit.
that's gonna cut away from you would think Hollywood Brown, but man, I really love my receivers. I feel like I can plug and chug any of those guys right now. I know Waddle, he saved me a couple weeks already, but now with Tua out, didn't look so good last week. So now maybe I'm going to swing a rookie in there. But right now, I'd probably focus on a tight end that I'm going to be looking for in the future. So
Yeah, and Tua will be back. Olave's going to only get
yeah,
better. London's going to only get better. So I think you're definitely in a better position than some other teams. So I mean, and looking at the standings, you know, uh, new faces at the top with you, obviously, but also Chris T. He's another guy I'm trying to get on this show. I tried to get Pearson on. He said I had to pay him. We don't have the money in the budget for that. So
He doesn't want to.
no, he was
Be
out.
the loser. That should be the loser, punishment.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But of the teams that are 2-2 or worse, I had to do a little research. And who do you think, has the roster, in your opinion, to right the ship? And who do you think is screwed?
Yeah, I mean, with the 2-2 teams below, I was looking at that. I'm gonna lean Jake. Jake beat me. What was it, last week? And I was looking at his team, Henry and Barkley. Barkley is definitely back. Absolutely. That's a steal there. Henry is looking great. He's got Hopkins on his bench. So, I still think Lockett's a solid receiver. Geno Smith's just kind of going with the flow now, but he's serviceable. He's got Elliott, which doesn't really, it's not good. Going back to the tight end, Dallas Goedert, he's one of the better plays right now. So
he is.
I think Jake's team can make a nice little run here.
It's funny, after the first week, some of those, like Henry looked a little washed and Elliott looked washed, but he's got, in my opinion, 2 top 5 running backs in Henry and Barkley. So he should be okay. So, all right. So a negative, good for Jake. Jake's getting pumped up. What about some other teams that you think, just might not have it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know, Terry. I'm sorry, but I looked at your team and I just was getting a little squeamish. First off, I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray. I don't really think a lot of people are. He does produce in fantasy some weeks, but he's not a leader, in my opinion. He's going to have the weeks where just you get like donuts from him. Yeah. Then I saw Justin Jefferson. That's great. But aside from that, with Mark Andrews, everything else, I just think it's going to start floating or, circling the toilet bowl with this team. Hate to say it, but.
It's funny because there's a couple guys on his team that I really liked coming into the year. Allen Robinson, who killed me last year. I actually thought he was going to have a bounce back season. And Juju, a lot of people thought he was going to have a bounce back season. And Travis Etienne had high hopes. And then all of a sudden, James. So he's got, some bad luck on a few guys that I agree with you. I think unless Swift and Montgomery get healthy and can stay healthy and Christian Kirk kind of stays in the flames, I do think he's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know if you want anybody on the Bears. I know Herbert's a big waiver guy, but Bears are awful.
I agree with you. All right. Well, listen, a lot happens in 4 weeks. 4 weeks from now, the whole standings could be jumbled, but we like to kind of give a little barometer check on them. And I like to get other people's opinions too, because I have my opinions and everybody hears from me all the time. That's why I like to ask you guys. So, all right, let's get into the meat of this thing. You got Otley this week, and spoiler alert, I haven't taped my episode yet. But you guys are the matchup of the week. He's 4-0, you're 3-1, first and second. He's a former champion. And as I mentioned previously, and we'll mention again, anytime I can sneak this in, he has not won since 2012. It's been 10 years since he's won. He's always in it, always relevant.
10 years. He's hit the decade mark here.
He won 3 times, and I guess it was like the first, I don't want to speak out of turn, 5, 6, 7 years, and then he hasn't won since. So he's aching for a championship. He texted me he's 11-1 over the course of his leagues so far this season. So he's starting hot across the board. So how do you feel about your matchup this week? And what players on his team might scare you? What players on your own team might scare you? Just give me a flavor.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be bringing in other leagues when we're talking about this. This is the only league that matters. You know what I mean? So we focus here. I was looking at Otley's team in our matchup. He's got the number 1 fantasy producer this season, Lamar Jackson. He's a freak athlete. He's scary, but I think he's an emotional player. If a defense gets to him early, he has a turnover, it gets in his head, and then he doesn't play as well. So I'm hoping that Cincinnati can get to him early, maybe get a turnover, and it'll be a slower game. Probably be a close game. So hopefully he doesn't blow up like he has been, because, honestly, it's been carrying his team. But, he's also got Kelsey, which is just as scary. And that guy gets touchdowns. But then on my end, I got Mahomes. So I'm throwing in theory, to Kelsey. So he's not getting as many points there. So that's what I really like about the matchup this week is, his big gun with Kelsey there. He's not going to be getting as many points if my guy's thrown to him.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good point that you brought up. And I just realized this as we're going through, but you always talk about positional advantages. Who's got the advantage at different positions? He's got the number 1 tight end and number 1 quarterback. in the league so far. And I think that, to be able to have that advantage in those two spots, then, if Dalvin Cook or T Higgins have a down week, those other guys can pick them up. So I think that's been huge for him.
Yeah, I mean Dalvin Cook, you think he's going to have that scary week, but after watching him the past couple of weeks, it's just like, is he out of gas or what? It's unfortunate because I love Cook as the player, but
Yeah.
it's just not there. And I'm hoping it's not this week where the big blow up comes, obviously.
I'll go on record and say I think it's coming. I don't know if it's necessarily this week, but I've been looking. His fantasy numbers haven't been great, but he's had like 2 games with 90 yards. His touchdown regression, it's like per touch, like the career low. Like he is so due.
He's the man. I always love Cook, but just not this week, obviously.
He's one hit away from walking off the field, and that's his deal. He's
I'm also encouraged. It was a slow start with Eckler. It was a slow start with Sanders. I mean, they've been serviceable, but last week they blew up, and Eagles are cruising right now. I hope they continue, and I hope it gives Sanders some confidence, just as an Eagles fan, but also for my fantasy team.
If you had to name 3 or 5 steals in the draft, he's absolutely one of them. He was totally off my board. People were saying that like Gainwell was going to come in and be like a big piece of it, Boston Scott, and then all of a sudden Sanders so far on the year is the running back 7, and he's been consistent while he's done it too, mostly. So, all right, so 51% to 49%. ESPN says, I always predict myself to win. Do you think you're going to beat them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be close. I mean, I'm absolutely, anticipating a win here. Definitely have to. I think defenses, having like Tampa Bay on my team help you win some weeks. And I know he's got Buffalo, but I have Tampa Bay going against Atlanta this week, so I think they're going to be the factors here. It's going to be a close game. He's going to have his guys that go off. I'm going to have my guys that go off.
Sure.
But, I think it's going to come down to a close matchup, but I'm going to sneak it out for sure.
All right. Well, I'm not going to give my pick yet. I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I think for the record, I think I picked you to win every week. So, and you've done well for me. So we'll see if that continues. But
3-1.
Yeah, man. All right. So last but not least, and this might be the biggest part of the show. So I got to keep saying, tooting my own horn that I'm 7 in a row picks because I'll never be here again.
You've been putting the bread on my table, man. I gotta thank you for that.
I want like somebody. I mean, the league keep taking the picks while it lasts because I remember last year. I think at this point I was like 2-6. So in any event, you're 0-1 as a special guest, but you've had incredible streaks. This could be the start of an incredible streak right here. I got the positive vibes only shirt. This could be it. So lay it on us, Bloom. What is the pick for the people this week?
So I was thinking about this and looking at the matchups. I saw Tampa Bay was playing Atlanta. And whenever I think of Tampa Bay Atlanta matchup, I think shootouts always. And then I did some research and I started looking, all these games in the past decade have been high scoring games. There were some in the 80s, there were some in the 70s. So instantly I think this is going to be a high scoring game. The over under is 48.5. That's my pick. I am picking a high scoring game here. I know Tom Brady's going through whatever he is with Giselle and this divorce shit. So if he's not one of the most clutch players in the history of NFL, I don't know who is. So I think he's going to be playing under some weird pressure. The game's also in Tampa Bay, so they just had the hurricane. So I think, if I was Betman, which I am, and I'm probably going to take this too, but, I think Tampa Bay will blow them out. But regardless, my pick is going to be over 48.5. I think it's going to be weird. Atlanta can get some random points. They got those new rookies coming in. Maybe they break one, get some garbage points. That's what push it over the edge. But I think it's going to be a weird atmosphere. It's going to be exciting because of the hurricane that blew through. It's going to be another shootout. The stats I saw, the past 12 games, 10 hit out of 13, I think. So 11-2 in the past 13 games, and 5-1 in Tampa Bay plays at home. So did a little research there. So I'm loving the over 48.5.
That's like a Tommy Smoke stat right there.
Yeah,
I like that.
He motivated me to dive into some stats here.
Well, listen, I'm on board because I'm going to be on record tomorrow saying, I'm not going to get into it now, but I think this is Tom Brady's going to do what he did, last year. I think he's going to be on the revenge tour now. He's focused. He's got all his receivers
Got his
back. He's got
receivers
a
back. Yeah.
cake
right.
matchups coming up. So I don't know. I'm the only person I feel like I can lose Javante Williams, and somehow my team might have just got better because I got Brady back. I got Godwin back. So I'm staying positive vibes only, Juan, is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah, man.
all right. Well, we're gonna let you go. I appreciate you coming on. And look for this video out on the pod, and we'll
Yeah.
talk to you soon.
You're going down, man.
I love it.
Have a good one.
You're going down. You're going down. All right, go
Thanks,
Phillies.
man.